You are now listening to Renaissance Soul.
Welcome to the Renaissance Soul Podcast. I'm your host, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier. And for this episode, I am joined by Eric Lauder, guitarist of the Detroit thrash death metal band Plague Years, as we talk about their debut full-length album, Circle of Darkness, released on September 18th, 2020 via Entertainment One, or E1. While the idea of the band has technically been around for about a decade now, Plague Years only started to make it a more serious band within the past few years with the release of two EPs, 2017's self-titled EP and 2018's Unholy Infestation. Eric shares with us the origins of the band, how they got signed to E1, along with his vision for the band as the main songwriter going into making Circle of Darkness. We go track by track throughout the album, talk about the videos they shot, along with the album's amazing cover artwork. So, without further ado, after a word from our sponsor, we'll get into Eric Lauder of the band Plague Years as we talk about Circle of Darkness. Alright, welcome back to the Renaissance Soul Podcast. And for this episode, we are joined with Eric Lauder, the guitarist for the Detroit-based metal band Plague Years. And we're going to talk about their 2020 album, Circle of Darkness. So, how you doing today, Eric?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How you doing?
Doing all right. To, start things off, how long has this band been in existence?
Initially, the idea of the band started about 2009, 2010. Me and Mike, the drummer, were wanting to do something that was metal. That was kind of where we came from to begin with, but we ended up falling into hardcore. It became once Iron Age dropped, we were like, yo, we got to do something like this, and then we just figured, we would incorporate, all our other thrash influences that kind of fall in that realm. But Iron Age was probably the initial band that really got us being yo, we need to go back to doing metal and doing this, The band didn't fully form and really start doing anything serious until about 2016. And was when we finally got serious members and stuff like that.
So what were you doing all those years before you took it seriously?
I was playing in a band called Build and Destroy. And I was playing in another band called Razzle Dazzle. At that time, we were taking Build and Destroy a little more serious. It was already gaining so much traction. So, it just made sense, we work on this, and this was always kind of a side project, mostly because we couldn't find members. That was really the hardest part. So, I probably wrote, me and Mike together probably wrote damn near 2 LPs worth of music in that time frame and recorded it and everything, demoed it and everything. But we didn't use any of it at all whatsoever. So, it's just been a long time coming. Those earlier songs are definitely some Iron Age worship type shit. It's probably better we didn't.
So, what did you guys do when you finally were able to solidify things more around 2016? What were the decisions made at that time?
So Mike introduced me to this other guitar player who I had known before, but never really kicked it with all that much or anything like that. But we knew each other, and he was an amazing guitar player. I was like, all right, cool. Finally we have someone that's really tight and good. And when he first joined, he had all these other song ideas too. And so the first EP, the self-titled, is definitely heavily, damn near almost all of it was his for the most part, because I kind of was backing down a little bit more than I should have at that moment. And so we did a lot of stuff that was kind of in that realm. And then after that record dropped, really while we were in the recording process of it, I had already been writing Unholy Infestation. I was like, yo, we're going this direction, And So yeah, in 2016, I mean, it just kind of all finally fell together, and then just as quickly as it was one band, right before we started recording Unholy, the guitar player quit on us. So we've just been having fill-ins ever since. So we say we're signed, we say we're a four-piece or signed as a four-piece. As far as a creative direction, it's all four of us, but we always have a fifth member.
Okay, all right. So, before you guys would eventually get signed to E1, like you mentioned, you had the Plague Years EP, and then you kind of stepped up a little bit creatively on Unholy Infestation. Sort of, what was kind of going on in the band's life during the recording of Unholy Infestation, and how would that eventually lead you guys to this deal with E1, where they would re-release Unholy Infestation on vinyl, and then you guys would eventually come to this full-length album.
So back to kind of what I was saying about when we were first dropped that first EP, Jimmy had a lot more ideas, and it was kind of a, creative direction in that on that EP. And after that came out, I was like, we're going to do it like this, and I had this plan in my head where, we were a new band at the time. We probably only played, maybe 5-6 shows. I mean, very little shows, we're all veterans, but just very little, hadn't done anything, haven't even left the state. But I knew, I was like, if we write something that's really good and we look at it, we go get Arthur on it, because he's like one of the top dudes in metal, and he's gonna make it sound amazing. And we just get a solid recording and make it sound, better than just like a demo or a normal EP. Just give it that full production. I think it could really do something. And luckily for us, I mean, it did. We got a lot of love from Trevor from the Black Dahlia Murder. And we got a lot of love from Joel from Toxic Holocaust. And that's just kind of how it all started. I mean, E1 signed us pretty much on a whim for the most part, I feel like. They just happened to really hear the music and believed in it. And, at that time, a lot of labels were looking for, another thrash metal project. And we had some looks from other labels, but all of them wanted us to have a bigger following, bigger social media numbers, this and that. And E1 heard it, and they were like, nah, we're going to take this on.
Yeah, they've been able to like take on bands that were just sort of like coming up, kind of first starting out with the band. It's kind of fairly new, but they have a good sound, so they're they will take a chance on those sort of bands.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you can have the following. You can, a lot of times the following can just be gained from just strictly just touring. I mean, you make a lot of friendships and get a good following, but at the end of the day, the music speaks for itself. If you hear something and you really think that it can, do something, then that's all you really need at the end of the day, and luckily they heard it and believed the same vision that we had. And here we are.
What was it about maybe the experience of all the members in this band that kind of led to being able to make this music that would, raise a few ears, raise a few eyebrows from people in the industry, get you signed?
It was a little bit of a struggle at first because Jimmy is very strong with like what he wants, and I was just right there like, no, we're going to do it like this. We're going to do it like this, and that frustration actually is what ended up making him leave. He started feeling like, I was kind of like dictating too much or something, like I was too in control. But I just knew, I'm like, I know I've been doing this a long time. I know how to go about it, how to handle this kind of shit. Like, I know, just please listen to me. He doesn't have that much experience as far as like putting out music and touring and this and that. And so he ended up leaving, and it wasn't, I mean, he left, he just recorded 2 guitar tracks for Unholy Infestation, and then he quit. And then, so I had to do everything. And then it honestly kind of made things a lot easier because us 4 were kind of always on the same page as it was. So once that happened and we could just chill and do the things that we were already planning on doing, I mean, everything just fell into place. It's one of those things where I'm a very big believer. If you want something bad enough, and if you do it, every day, all day, think about it all day, and you just think you're going to get it, it may not happen immediately, but as long as you keep working at it, you're going to get it. And that's how I was feeling. I was like, dude, something's going to come of this. Like, I know it.
Did the mood of the band change after Jimmy left?
Yeah, it got way more relaxed. Hopefully he doesn't watch this, but yeah, it got way more relaxed. He was the one that was always kind of like, worrying about things a lot and just, making me stress out about things that I've never had to stress out about before in a band. And yeah, I mean, it made things just a lot smoother, because at the end of the day, I was the one kind of creatively driving the band and writing the music and that. And the only person who really ever went against me was Jimmy. So once he quit, it just kind of made things a lot easier for us. But I love Jimmy. Don't get twisted. I love Jimmy. He's a great guy. It just didn't work out.
Yeah, it just didn't work out. Yeah. So when did you guys started writing music for the your debut full length album Circle of Darkness?
I started writing it. So we got signed in April, and then I started writing it pretty much immediately because the plan was that they wanted to have a record out by like the end of the year. Well, I wanted to have one out by the end of the year. I just didn't want to tour on a 6-song EP for too long,
Right.
I don't know. I just didn't want to do that. And so in my head, I was thinking, okay, well, I'd like to have this out by like October, and then like thinking, I've never released something on a big label or had like a full blown, promo, campaign and all that. So like, then I started thinking like, well, shit, if I want this out by October, that means I got to have this done and recorded by like July, so
Right.
that they can have, whatever.
Because if you put it out, you can be like, okay, we're done. Next month it's out.
Yeah, right. And so I was like, fuck, man, I gotta, but I was feeling extremely inspired and just motivated with everything that was going on. And the record just kind of poured out. I mean, I started writing on my computer, which I had never done before, and using just a drum machine. And man, it just totally elevated my writing game. And it just all came out. I wrote all the music in like 3 weeks. And then lyrics kind of slowly came in afterwards, some during the writing process. And we hit the studio in I think it was either last week of June or last week of May or beginning of June. So we were in there, and then the recording process just took way too long. We didn't finish until October, and but we had already talked about pushing the record back anyway and doing it in the new year and all that. My bass player had his car stolen, so it kind of slowed everything down. His bass got taken. He was in the middle of recording bass. His bass got stolen. It was a whole fucking fiasco.
Oh man, that's terrible.
That Detroit life.
Yeah, shit happens.
Yeah.
So what's sort of like the method of writing and recording throughout the band? Do you do most of the writing?
Yeah. So with Unholy, it was a little more like between me and Jimmy, I'd say it was about like a 60-40 split as far as riffs. I wrote the majority of it, but he wrote 2 full songs, and then I wrote the other 4 songs, and he gave me like a riff or 2. Lyrically, it was kind of the same. I wrote probably about 80% of the lyrics. Tim and Jimmy helped out a little bit too. And then Circle of Darkness is pretty much all me for the most part. Not even really because I wanted it to be like that, but it was just, I was on such a creative like wave that it was just coming. And I was writing it faster than I think even those guys could try to even come up with stuff. I mean, I was literally just popping out songs every day. And yeah, so this record, I pretty much wrote most of it, or pretty much all of it. But, the next record will probably be a little more of a collab, or, it'll always probably be mostly me, but it'll be definitely more of a collab on the next one, I think.
Yeah, there's some killer riffs on this new album.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Bangers.
So, let's at this point, let's just get into the album and go track by track and sort of talk about each song. But before we get into that, who did you guys work with in regards? Did you work with a producer or engineer with that, and what did they bring to the table in regards to making this album?
So I don't know if our engineer was Nick Morris. He did he's done like stuff for like the Black Dahlia Murder. He owns a record label too called Luxor. So we went to him, and I mean, he kind of helped produce really a little bit. It was me and him for the most part. And then after we recorded all the tracks, I just send them all just raw to Arthur, and I just let Arthur do his thing. I mean, I don't really tell him much. I'll give Arthur some notes after he sends me back the first like mix master. And other than that, he's pretty much on point almost every time. So he just throws the sauce on it.
Yeah, throws the sauce.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, let's get into the album. The first song on the album is "Play the Victim."
That song's just about like, that Tim had always been in my ear about, man, we need a short song. I want a real short song, and in metal, I mean, it's pretty hard to write a short song, trying to cram in. I mean, that song's only 4 riffs and a solo, and it's still like 3 minutes, I think, but so I was like, okay, I'm gonna give him a nice short and sweet one, and then the lyrical content is just, it's just about a narcissistic person, I feel like that everybody has in their life, and it's just basically about them, they always playing the victim while doing the most fucked up shit, they're constantly the one causing the problem, but they're always the one, crying wolf or playing victim or whatever you want to call it.
You guys did a video for "Play the Victim" also. Talk about that.
It was dope, man. It was the first time I ever did like a real video, I would say, with like camera crew and lighting and shit. And it was awesome, man. We shot both "Play the Victim" and then "Paradox" the next day. It was a long, tiring day, man. I couldn't believe how exhausted I was just playing that same song over and over and over and over again for hours, But it was awesome, man. It came out great. Justin's the man. Justin Reich, great dude. I mean, he made us feel really comfortable, and it was just awesome.
Yeah, like you said, you also did the video for "Paradox of Death." What did you want to convey in these videos? What did you want the visual representation of this music to be?
So for "Play the Victim" video, we just wanted to just kind of show like what goes on, like what it's like in our scene and what it's like at our shows. It's just a bunch of our homies, just going the fuck off. It's, any normal show for the most part, you know what I mean? All those guys that are in there are all in bands from around here, or at least like heavy in the scene, they always come out. And then with Paradox, I really wanted to have like a story. Originally, I really wanted just a story video. I didn't even want us playing in it at first. But we ended up changing it. But I really wanted it to convey, and I think Justin did a really good job because I wasn't on set when it happened. It was just COVID's going on at this point.
Yeah.
And he had to do it out in North Carolina. So we recorded us playing in Detroit, but he did all the actor stuff in North Carolina.
Okay. And
he did a good job. I mean, I feel like if you read the lyrics, you understand that, this guy is hanging out with these people and he goes to these other people and he snitches on them. And then they find out about it, and that's when they end up gripping them up and, dragging them along and leaving them to the birds,
The next song is "Witness Hell."
This song is just about like a dude who just tortures someone, but never kills them, but every day, like he's just like locked up, just torturing this dude every day for his own enjoyment, but he never kills him. And the guy that's being tortured is like wishing to die, like he's hoping that this is it, he's gonna kill me now, because there's obviously no escape. That's pretty much all that song's really about. It's just I wanted to do something real brutal, like Cannibal Corpse-ish, like just something just real dark and just about torture,
Right. And like we were already talking about, the next song is "Paradox of Death." I love this song. Those riffs are killer at the beginning. Congrats on that.
Yeah.
So
it's weird. It's weird, bro, because when I first wrote that song, that was like the one I wasn't really feeling all that much. But then when it's crazy how like you can write a song and be like, yeah, this one's okay, but then as soon as you slap vocals on it, you're like, oh shit, okay, this song bangs now. That song's just about killing a snitch, bro. Straight up. That's really all that song's about. I listen to a lot of rap, so I like trying to tie in like rap content into metal, but making it metal still, So that's really all that song's about.
Yeah, I'm basically a hip hop head too. So like who's some of your favorite hip hop?
Hip hop?
Yeah.
Oh shit, man. I mean, like if we're talking like 90s hip hop, I guess I'd have to go like Nas. It's probably my all time. AZ, I love too. Yeah. Shit, man. I haven't listened to that hip hop in a long time, to be honest with you. I've been hip to like all the stuff that's coming out here, like Sada Baby and 42 Doug and all those dudes, man. I love that shit. Future is like my all time favorite. You know what I mean? Right. Freddie Gibbs is another one, like hip hop guy I like a lot. Boldy James was another big one from here. All kinds, bro. I listen to a lot of rap, straight up.
Awesome. The next song is Eternal Fire.
So this song, I just wanted this song to be heavy as fuck the whole time. I kind of just wanted it to feel relentless. Like I always like when you know, the band, it's like, you know how you'll listen to a song and then it's like, okay, you hit the heavy part and then it ends, but then you'll get a song where you hit the heavy part and then they hit you again with a heavy part and then they hit you again, and it's just kind of like, damn, they're just going, you know. That's kind of what I wanted to do in that song, was just like, just keep it fucking heavy as fuck.
Yeah.
And then lyrically, it's kind of what made us name the album Circle of Darkness, because the song is about the ritual of becoming a part of the Circle of Darkness, which is, you know, being reborn in immolation, or you know, being burned alive. You're essentially being like possessed and brought into this elite group, you know, that influences all the evil in the world, or mentally in people and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. See, that's what I like about this album, like you said, is that, you know, you hit us with a heavy part, and then right next there's more heavy, then more heavy. And it's just like, all right, but it doesn't run into each other. It just like, you just,
yeah. I definitely try to make it feel right, you know, feel right. I don't ever want to like, I feel like I'm pretty consciously good about knowing when to stop, you know, or knowing when like, okay, enough's enough, or like making it sound like it's supposed to be there, I guess. You know,
it's like getting slapped, and then you wait a second and slap a person again, and then wait a couple seconds and slap them again. You know,
and then you get punched.
You know, but you know, there's that space in between, you know, to kind of, you know, get your bearings for a second, but then you get punched again.
Oh, yeah.
So the next song is the title track of the album, Circle of Darkness.
So weirdly enough, I feel like this is probably the opposite of what most people do, since that's the track off the album or whatever. That song I wrote last out of all of them. For whatever reason, I was having just a hard time coming up with or not having a hard time coming up with lyrics, but a hard time figuring out how I wanted to do it. But that song is just about, it's the same thing. It kind of tells the story of like where the Circle of Darkness is, you know, how the ritual happens, what they do, you know, you pull the strings of chaos, you know, whatever. It's just kind of like really trying to tie in what the album is about. You know, it has two meanings. It's the Circle of Darkness is like the cycle of evil or darkness that happens, you know, just that in itself. And then the elite group, the Circle of Darkness, that controls or influences the cycle, you know?
Right. Now, the next song is Evil One.
Yeah, this one was like heavily influenced by Divine Intervention. I was just banging the fuck out of that record, and I just wanted to do something in 6/8, man. So I just came up with that as far as the riffs go. And lyrically, I was just, I don't even remember. I think I was just kind of surfing through the internet, just trying to get inspired. And I came across some story about a girl just, you know, begging. Basically, she could never have a kid, so she was begging Satan for a kid, and Satan gave her one, you know, and ended up being the Antichrist. But he ended up becoming good at some point, and just in my story, he just didn't become good and just goes back to hell.
Speaking of which, where do you get sort of your ideas, inspirations for you know, the lyrics to these songs?
For the most part, it's kind of just like random, I guess. I don't know, like it's just something will just like, I'll go into it being like, okay, I got to write this song. What am I going to do this about? And then I'll kind of either surf around on the web, you know, just try to get like, see a topic or something, or maybe just like, sometimes I'll see just one sentence of something and I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm going to run with that, you know, and like kind of just, you know, take the inspiration from what I just read and just turn it into a song, you know.
Sure.
A lot of times though, I'll have like ideas in my head that I want to do or prior to, but you know, sometimes it's just a matter of just looking around and getting inspired, watching a documentary or some shit, you know.
The next song is Incantation.
This is another just like you know, just your typical evil ass shit, just bringing the dead back to life. They were condemned by God, and now they're going to rid the world of all things divine, you know. It's pretty much all that song's about, just destroying fucking God for the most part.
Right. And the next song is NRFTL.
Yeah, No Respect for the Law. I wrote that song. It's funny because a lot of people have been asking me in interviews like, "Oh, did you write it because of everything that's been going on, recently with all the police brutality?" And obviously, fuck all that shit. Like that shit's fucked up. It needs to be fixed. But I wrote that song October of last year, before the shit happened, because I've always been big into like wrongful convictions, like crime doc. Bro, I love that shit. Like that's like my biggest thing. If it wasn't so much schooling, bro, I would definitely try to become a defense lawyer for sure. But just the system is fucked. So right. I just was super inspired. I knew even before, as I was writing the songs, I knew I was going to write a song about this, and I don't like to get too political in my music. I don't even know if it's technically politics or not, but
no, that's humanity, man. That's something that you should be talking about,
Yeah, it was just something I felt like I needed to say something, and try to get the message out there, because a lot of people don't really they think that going to jail and that, you deserve to be there and this and that, whatever. And, right. The system itself is very fucked up as far as how you get there and how you get stuck there, for certain shit. And you really have to dig to understand. So I'm hoping that some people listen to that and might be like, okay, what the fuck is this dude talking about? And maybe dig into it,
That's a cool song because, yeah, like when I listened to it, like it's definitely a song that I wanted to go back to and pay attention to it, So, not only does the lyrics, the words mean something, but just the way it's performed, the music to it, What was sort of your idea with that for a song that had that sort of, the themes of that song? How did you want to make sure that you highlighted what you were talking about?
To be honest, I was struggling very hard to figure out how I was going to get my point across in a way that, didn't come off like I didn't want to come off like I was being like a, I don't even know how to sound, like a nerd or something. You know what I'm saying? Like I wanted it to still be metal sounding, I didn't want it to be like very like political sounding, if that makes any sense at all whatsoever. So it took me a while to really get it, and then I just kept listening to that part in the chorus, that da 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 da, and it just No Respect for the Law just came in my head, and I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna run with this, just kind of popped in there, and it kind of reminded me of songs like Breaking the Law by Judas Priest, or my homies. They got a song, No Warning. They got a song called Beyond the Law. It's kind of like the same thing too. It's like it's got that real catchy vibe to it, and yeah, I just randomly high as hell one day just came in my head.
And what I really noticed about that song when I was listening to it, it felt like it stuck out vocally. Like there was a little bit more, like Tim was doing a little bit more of a kind of a soulful bluesy sort of vocal on that. Was that something that was intentional?
Yeah, I wanted to make this song a little more like mainstreamish, I guess, without like, I don't want to be mainstream, but like I definitely wanted it to be like a, because if you listen to it, I mean, it's really not a thrash song. I don't think, it's not really a death metal song either. It's kind of like if I had to describe it, it's like a mix between like Black Album, Metallica, and like Pantera or something like that.
That's what I kind of got from it. I was like, this kind of has a little bit of a tinge of Pantera vocals, Like,
yeah, Tim sounds a lot like Phil, which is great because I think Phil, like, him as a person and his views is whatever, but his vocals, like, is there anything that dude can't do? He's so fucking sick, bro. Like, he can do fucking anything with his vocals.
Right.
And so I always encouraged him, and I say it to him a lot too, bro. Like, bro, listen to more Pantera, bro. You can do this shit with your voice,
Go full Phil.
Yeah, and I wanted to incorporate Tim's singing in little increments, on the LP, just to kind of see how people would think about it.
I liked it, man. It really stuck out. I was like, oh, what's this? I was like,
yeah.
oh, all right. Like,
yeah, I want to. There might be more to it, maybe in like a later album, but it was definitely something I was like, okay, you know what? We're going to take a little bit of a leap here. At least I felt like it was a leap, at the time, and just roll with it,
Right.
Like, once we heard it recorded, we were like, fuck, man, this song sounds good. Like, it's catchy,
And the next song is World in Blood.
Another one where I was just surfing around on the web, bro, just trying to get ideas. It was like some line I read about some guy just, literally covering the world in blood. I was like, fuck, all right, well, I'm gonna run with that, So I just turned it into kind of like a war, like a war scene. Essentially what it is this guy, he gets a message, from hell or whatever, to tell these people like, yo, you guys got to stop fighting, because as soon as you guys, essentially it's like, think of it like a holy war or something. These religions are fighting each other, right? And this guy's trying to tell them, hey, if you guys keep fighting, for this senseless bullshit, this is going to happen. Hell's going to come up and they're going to fucking just slaughter all of you. You know what I mean? That's pretty much what the song is about. And then at the end, or in the second verse, he's talking about he's going to join, he's going to be right there, because everyone mocked him and said, oh, you're full of shit, but at the end it ended up being, he was right. He wasn't lying,
Then the final song on the album is Urge to Kill, which has a killer intro.
Yeah, bro, that was like, I wrote that intro before that song. I just like woke up one day, like hella early in the morning before work, and I like smoked a blunt, and I was just kind of sitting there, and the riff just came in my head. I was like, fuck, I got to record this right now before I go to work. Like, I have to do it. And I recorded it and bounced it, and I showed it to my homie that day, like at work, and he was like, dog, that riff is hard as fuck. I was like, yeah, I gotta figure out what the fuck I'm gonna do with it. But yeah, that song came together at the very end. It felt like I like to call them riff soup, like a song that's just kind of like riff after riff after riff after riff after riff. There's not really much structure. It's kind of how I felt that song was, but as I keep listening to it more, it does kind of have some structure to it, as far as like, it's not as thrown together as I felt it was at the end. But the end, then threw in the crazy fucking suffocation type breakdown and shit. I was just another thing where I'm just kind of taking a leap, like, okay, let's see how this goes,
And that kind of leads me to my next question, is that how did you go about the sequencing of this album? Because a song like Urge to Kill, with that intro and with kind of like, the riff soup that you said, I felt like was such a cool way to close out the album. So what was your thoughts about, sequencing the whole album?
We really had I had no real clue how it was going to go. When I'm writing, it's just, they kind of all come. I didn't write them, obviously from 1 to 10, just like that,
Right.
So when we got to figuring out how the album was going to go, I was like, okay, I hadn't finished writing the end of Urge to Kill yet. And I was like, well, dude, I'm going to slap this at the end, and I'm going to kind of do some kind of like Hella Waits type worship shit. You know what I'm saying? And just let it ride out and never let it kick in, just let the drums go, and it's going to give you that snare and just going to ride out. Right? You're never going to let it kick in. And yeah, it came out really fucking dope. It's just works. Sometimes it just works,
Yeah, with Urge to Kill, it just sounded like this is such an epic way to close this album out.
Yeah, it's definitely like you're fucking riding away on like a fucking badass like steed or some shit with a sword or some shit. Like, it's just fucking crazy.
Okay, so when this album is all done, you go get it mixed and mastered. The first time you're hearing it, what's your thoughts? What's the band's thoughts?
Oh man, we were just like, fuck, this record bangs, dude. Like, this shit goes fucking hard. When I first get it, I have it, but it's all raw. Like the dude that did the engineering did like a little bit of like very, very little mixing, just so it didn't, sound too raw to us anyway. Yeah. And I was like, man, this sounds really good. Like I'm geeked on this. And then I sent it to Arthur. And then when he sent me back the first mix, it was just like a bomb. I was like, oh fuck, now this shit's crazy. Like he got such a way with just making shit just hit so much harder and fuller. And he likes to add a lot of low end, which I love. And yeah, we felt really, really good, man. It's definitely a really good feeling, I think, for anyone who does music. Finally hear, the final product. You're like, fuck, man, this took me how long? Like, here we are finally,
When you linked up with E1, they re-released one of the EPs, and then you got this record on vinyl. Man, how does it sound? How does it feel to hear your band's music on vinyl?
It's always great. I've never put out I put out a 7-inch, 2 7-inches before on vinyl with Build and Destroy, but I've never done a LP before. or a 12-inch, you know. And so I was geeked, you know, just to have it. And you know, it's just always cool to just, you know, you're staring at the same thing for months. The artwork, everything, you know, the layout, the music, I mean, everything. But when you finally like see it together in physical form, I mean, it's just a fucking cool feeling, especially when it's all executed properly. I mean, it's just great, you know, especially Circle of Darkness. I mean, the artwork on that shit is just wild, you know. We wanted to just really go over the top. So
Yeah, talk more about
gatefold.
that. Yeah, talk about who did that, what you wanted to do with the artwork.
So we had Joe Patagno. He did the front and the back. He's known for doing like the Motorhead skull, and he's done stuff for like Mammoth Grinder, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin. He's an older guy. I think he's like 72 or something like that. And I seen his stuff because my homie Alsh, he plays in Mammoth Grinder and also Power Trip. But they dropped Cosmic Crypt, man, and that fucking artwork just blew me away. I was like, man, I hit him up immediately, like, bro, who did that? And he told me it was Joe. I was like, fuck, I gotta work with this dude. And I didn't really tell him what to do, you know. I really wanted a piece from him. I didn't want to feel like I was like telling him what to do, you know. I gave him some lyrics to the song Eternal Fire. And that was it. I just said, do your thing, bro. Like, I want, you know, I want no influence on you. I just want you to do your thing. And he sent me that. First, it was like a rough sketch, and I was kind of still like, okay, I can't really tell exactly what's going on, but this shit looks like it's going to be crazy. And then when I got the full, I was like, holy shit, dude. Like, this shit is wild. And a totally different direction that I would have went. And what I had in my head for art is entirely different than what he did. But that's what I wanted, you know?
What were you thinking about doing?
I was thinking more along like the ritual side of Circle of Darkness. You know, I was thinking like just some kind of like I wanted some dude burning on it, but I was thinking more along the lines of kind of what's in the inside. When you I don't know if you have the record or not, but when you open it up, there's like a girl burning here. Actually, hold on. When you open it up, there's like a, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
so this is kind of more my idea that I had going on the outside. Not these colors, though. I didn't want to go so blue, but I wanted to have like that fire and ice vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so we just had some extra money left over in the budget because Joe was actually a lot cheaper than I was anticipating. And I was like, fuck it, man. I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep getting more shit. And hopefully the label will let us do a gatefold or you know, fold out insert. It looks great. I mean, it came out really good.
That looks amazing. I definitely gotta go cop one of those.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just for the artwork alone, it's seriously badass.
Seriously, man, amazing. So, okay, you write and record, you know, this album last year, but then like, did you have it all done before the you know, the pandemic hit?
Yeah, the record was completely finished recording October. It was like October, I think it was like October 13th. I just got the alert on my phone of when because the day we finished, the next day we had to leave for tour. So it was like crunch time. And the full record itself was done, I want to say November, something like that. Like November, maybe first week of December, Arthur was done doing it. And yeah, so it was done before the pandemic. We were originally going to release it in May 22nd, but we pushed it back because that was when everyone was like, "Oh, it's only going to be a month. Oh, it's only, you know." Yeah, okay, well.
Yeah.
Then that came and went, and we were like, "Well, we'll push it back to September." And then, you know, we were kind of talking about maybe pushing it again, but I mean, I don't see any end in sight for this.
No, at this point, man, just put it out. People
put it out.
People are paying attention enough to like where you can put out stuff, you know. And
yeah, and for the most part, for me, I was just feeling for people like, you know, I'm thinking if I'm someone buying this and I pre-ordered it, you know, okay, I pre-ordered it in May. Now I'm waiting. I pre-ordered it in March. I'm sorry, waiting to get it in May. Then we postpone it, and then they gotta wait till September. I was just feeling for people like that. Like, man, I can't make people wait any longer, especially if they already spent their money.
How much were you able to tour, you know, between finishing the record and before like the pandemic hit? And did you incorporate any new songs in that touring?
Well, we didn't after we came back from that tour in October with Skeletal Remains and Frozen Soul. We were kind of debating. We're like, should we just kind of wait and you know, just kind of hold tight and get everything we need in order, because we knew we were going to do a full US once the record dropped. And we kind of just decided on that. We're like, look, we're just gonna, really get our set tight, because we're gonna be playing a way bigger tour than we've done, and on a bigger stage. So we just really wanted to make sure we were gonna be crushing, And so we didn't get to do any touring, unfortunately. And now looking back, fuck, I wish I'd have toured the whole fucking time.
Dude, right. Yep. I think everybody wishes they could have just like slid in a few more shows before the pandemic hits. But how are you guys dealing with putting out this record during a pandemic? Because this is a fairly new band, so I'm assuming like everybody in the band has day jobs and stuff. And
Oh, yeah.
were they are you guys able to,
And we're dads.
and your dads, you guys
got
got,
4 of us are dads.
so yeah, like you got families, you got jobs, were you guys was everybody able to continue to work during this time? And how did you sort of deal with the rolling out of this record?
I mean, we just, we just knew what the circumstances were. We knew it wasn't going to get, as much exposure as we initially hoped with touring, obviously, because there's really nothing that compares to playing in front of people. That's by far the best promotion, or like winning people over that you can have.
Yeah.
So, I just kind of got over it. I don't try to dwell too much on, negative shit. I just look at positive shit. It's getting out. People are going to hear it, and we've had a lot of, great reviews and good feedback from that. But I know Ryan was doing stuff. His work turned into, he normally does like signs for like Miller Lite signs and shit like that, that light up and stuff. They turned into a full blown like why can't I think of the word right now? Why can't I think of the fucking word? The breathalyzer, the breathing machine. Why can't
ventilators?
Ventilator. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So they were building ventilators and masks and face shields and all that shit.
Okay.
And Tim was working. He works at a dispensary, and then I was just pretty much chilling for the most part. I do some side things here and there, but just chilling.
So like, it just, you guys were still able to sort of support yourselves during it. It wasn't as big of a, as a loss as some bands might have, where this, like, that's their only thing. I
would say for Ryan and Tim, they definitely didn't miss a beat as far as, income goes. For me and Mike, it definitely, I'm definitely not making as much money as I would be if the shit wasn't going on right now.
Okay.
Mike would say the same too, I'm sure. I mean, he's been on unemployment for the whole time, and he was working at a restaurant at the time, and yeah, so
that's
feel
for him.
It's whatever. Yeah, I just want this shit to be over with so badly.
Man, I can't wait to be it over with, and I can't wait to be able to hear this record. I want to see you guys live, because the way that this album rocks, I want to hear it. I want to hear it live. This
oh yeah,
is a live album. This is something that needs to be like enjoyed in a small, dirty ass metal venue, and
it's overpacked,
way
over capacity.
Yes. So, what do you in this may have changed, after, being a part of this pandemic.
You see my dog over there? Yeah.
Yeah, your dog. Yeah, I've been checking out your dog the whole time. Just been like,
I just seen her in my view. I'm like, oh shit, my dog was sleeping.
Yeah, your dog would get up for like a moment and then go back to sleep.
Oh yeah, she's posted.
Just posted. But what did you want your fans to get out? What did you want the listeners to get out of listening to this album? And did it change from the time you were writing it to the time it's coming out during a pandemic?
I just wanted to write something really intense. I like the feeling where I don't feel like, where the music doesn't feel like it's given up. It's just constantly pushing, yeah. And, I wanted to just go outside the boundaries a little bit. When we started this, we definitely wanted to be like a thrash band for the most part, but I really, really wanted to push out of that to separate ourselves as best we could from other thrash bands, and just be heavier, overall heavier. We down-tuned and everything. So, I mean, when we did it, and pretty much any time I'm writing, man, I want it to feel like it's just like hitting you in the face, So once we had it recorded, I was like, okay, we're doing that. And then once, I heard it mixed and mastered, I was like, oh shit, like the mix is so full sounding and heavy in speakers, man. It blows them bitches out. It's dope.
Do do you have any more, plans of things that you guys want to do, like online or whatever, in the meantime, before you can, actually go out and tour?
Yeah, we got a live stream coming up. I can't say the exact date yet, but it's coming. It's coming soon, and we've been really grinding that out, just practicing, just to really tighten our shit up. We got I think I'm gonna do another guitar playthrough video. We're just trying to keep coming up with content. I mean, it's so much harder to constantly be posting now versus like when I'm on tour. I mean, the content just creates itself between pictures being taken at the shows,
right,
and flyers and this and that. It's a constant, endless thing of content. Right now, it's like, you got to keep coming up with the shit, and posting it and just keeping people, intrigued into what you're doing and engaging with them and all that, which I love doing. I love talking to people and anyone that hits us up. I definitely enjoy that.
Great. Do you have any final thoughts about, this album that you'd like to share?
If you haven't heard it before, man, if you're a big fan of thrash metal and death metal, I mean, I think if you listen to either side, either one of those genres, even just specifically those ones, you're going to enjoy this record. It's super heavy, super fast, and it's just crushing, and every song has some unique feature to it. That was one thing I really wanted to focus on, where I didn't feel like I was repeating myself in any song, and each song has its own part that stands out. And so, I mean, I think it's a record that pretty much, if you're a fan of any kind of metal, you're going to enjoy it.
Great. It's been great talking with you, Eric. The riffs on this album are amazing. That's what really,
thank you.
That's what really stuck out first time I listened. Where can people go online to get more information about, the band Plague Years and Circle of Darkness?
Hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, Plague Years MI, Facebook, everywhere, bro. Just type us in on Google, Plague Years. You can get our record on Bandcamp. We got the links in all our bios. You can get it at the E1 store. And just hit us up, man. We love talking to everybody, and hit us up.
Thank you for listening to the Renaissance Soul podcast, hosted and produced by myself, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, empowered by Anchor at anchor.fm/Renaissance Soul. Renaissance Soul theme music provided by Steve O. You can find more of his productions at iamsteveo.bandcamp.com, and that's EYEAMSTEVEO.bandcamp.com. Renaissance Soul is available on all streaming platforms. Please rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. If you want to support Renaissance Soul, please consider pledging via Patreon at patreon.com/freshastheword. Follow Renaissance Soul on social media, on Instagram at RenSoulPodcast and on Twitter at RenSoulPod. And join the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/freshastheword. And for more information on Renaissance Soul, visit freshasthepodcast.com. Thank you for listening and your support. Goodbye and good night.
Renaissance Soul.